gather round our cauldron after having gotten off our brooms. Check.
Ooh, both things right so far. Definitely going to make it right for the third thing.
Yes, then we will conjure our spells and then wander through the town in our classic witch garb, which is sort of a flowy dress thing, and then a bowler hat.
Oh, there it is. No, that's wrong. It's not a bowler hat because that's curved at the top.
I believe it is. I think Charlie Chaplin was the original witch.
He's definitely not a witch because, first of all, he's male, though I don't want to be sexist or anything like that, but a witch's hat.
Magritte's famous paintings of witches?
No, again, that wasn't of witches. Witches' hats are pointy. They have a point at the top. Oh,
you're thinking of a dunce cap. That's a dunce cap.
There's not too much of a difference.
You're stupid in this case.
You're stupid. A dunce cap is white. A witch's hat is black. Oh, here we go with another, not season, but part of this on the Chilling Podcast of Sabrina. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And we are officially kicking off part 3 of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina with Chapter 21, The Hellbound Heart. Now, just to specify, which I know Pete's going to give me a hard time about, but this is the beginning of the second season of Chilling Adventures of Sabrina.
Fuck you.
Hold on. The first season was part 1 and part 2. This is part 3. There's a part 4 coming later on this year. But we are getting 8 episodes here in part 3, and we're going to be recapping all of them as mentioned.
Make it easier and just say season 3.
Yeah, but it's not season 3. It's part 3.
Why?
Which, as we all know...
Just call it season 3. Why can't we make it easier on everybody?
Everybody who watches a TV show is intimately familiar with TV budgets and understands that in order to budget it correctly, you got to do part 3 and part 4 together to plan out the yearly budget, et cetera, et cetera. They say that very clearly at the top of the episode when they come in. They say, hey, guys, for budgetary reasons, this is part 3.
And our podcast will be covering all the budgetary decisions made in part 3 of Sabrina.
All right, open up your Excel spreadsheets because here we go.
Whoa,
actually, what?
Nothing. I was going to talk about some line-producing humor, but let's move on.
Okay. I'm very excited to get your feedback on that because that is an area of expertise for you. So,
indeed.
Let us jump into a quick bit of recap here before we get in because there's
about our lives or about the TV show?
About our lives. What's been going on with you, Justin?
Well, it's been a whole season.
Sure.
And I mean that hasn't been a part of our lives. It's been a season of our lives.
Thank you, Justin. So it is season 3.
I've actually gone through several seasons since the last time we talked about Sabrina. Let's get into it, though. Quick little bit of recap there. So Sabrina Spellman is a half witch, half human, except... she's not, as we found out in part 2. She is secretly the daughter of Lucifer Morningstar, a.k.a. Satan, a.k.a. the leader of hell. He tried to marry her, as fathers always do with their daughters. Right, Justin? Right? Wow. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay. Weird way to bring me in on this, but sure.
And in order to do that, he was going to take over the earth. Instead, they trapped him in what is called a flesh acheron. That is a prison. It was created out of her boyfriend, the original bad boy, Nick Scratch.
No, Nick Scratch. What?
And what is better than sacrificing your own life to save your girlfriend? Am I right, fellas?
Bad boy alert on high. Been there.
Yes. So Nick, once he had Satan inside of him, literally was taken to hell thanks to Madam Satan, a.k.a. Lilith, the bride of Lucifer, who took over hell. In the process, she brought her mortal form that she had killed, Miss Wardwell, Sabrina's favorite teacher, back to life. Meanwhile,
super nice of her to do that.
Yes, it was very nice of her to do that. Meanwhile, over on the Greendale side of things, Father Blackwood, the former leader of Sabrina's coven, the Church of Night, tried to turn everything into a hyper-masculine man cave, witch's man cave, if you will, and push out all the women. Instead, he was run out of town with Sabrina's cousin Ambrose and her former frenemy Prudence hot on his tail. They specifically wanted to kill him, but also wanted to get Prudence's baby brother and sister back because Father Blackwood had kidnapped them and escaped with him. So that's what's going on with them. Back in Greendale with the Church of Night in ruins, Sabrina's aunts Zelda and Hilda took the remaining members and allowed them to live in the Spellman residence, though they weren't quite sure what they were going to do after that.
Super nice of them.
And everything is very nice on this show. I think that's the main thing that we need to emphasize.
Yeah, exactly. No notes. Behave this way in your real life.
On the human side of things, Sabrina's friends Roz, who has the gift of sight called the Cunning, and Harvey are dating. What?
Isn't her name Jazz? And Roz is the actor's name?
Oh, is it? Oh, man, I was mixing that up.
I think so.
Yeah, Jaslyn? No. Roslyn?
No, it's Roz.
It's Roz.
It's Roz?
Yeah, okay. I think the human actor is named Jaslyn. You know what? Let's call them by their human names. It's a nice
let's call them by their human names.
My human name is Alex.
Oh, boy.
Is it?
I don't know. I'm clearly very loopy already. So anyway, Harvey and Roz are dating.
Oh, you're right. It's Roz. Jazz is the actor's name.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. What had just
really
happened?
Threw me for a loop there, like a hardcore
what just
loop.
Happened?
It's too close. She should change the character's name or her actual name to something else.
Yes. What? Great note. Again, this is why you're a professional line producer. That's what they do. Walk up to people and suggest they change their human names.
Also, definitely not my job.
So Sabrina's friends, what was I even talking about? Roz and Harvey are dating. Sabrina is very cool with it. Theo is another friend who is also there. And there's a couple of other characters you probably need to know about. We'll get to them later as we reach them in the show because it's kind of complicated. But things left off at the end of the season after they had solved everything. They had trapped Nick and Satan in hell, with Sabrina saying, hey, let's get Nick back from hell, which I think we all agreed was a crazy idea.
Yeah.
True love, baby.
True love. So, with that out of the way, very excited to jump into this. And right at the beginning here, we get a new intro to the show with some new animations and thing. How y'all feeling about that?
Very fun. I got to say that the creepiest thing about the opening credits is that one picture that's like the Archie comic style drawing of Sabrina just laying on the couch with a crazy look on her face.
Really? That's
you know
the
what I'm talking about. The look on her face is so unsettling to me.
Wow.
One of my favorite things they did between seasons is, I think it was for Halloween, they took a picture of Kiernan Shipka with the classic Sabrina look. They had set up a room like that, and instead of the comic version of Betty and Archie on the TV screen, it was Lily Reinhardt and KJ Apa from Riverdale. Yeah. Super cute.
Fun stuff.
Fun stuff. They do have fun over at that Archie Comics. So we kick off with a little bit of a swerve. We start in hell. Nick is stuck in some mud. He's stuck in the wall. Satan attacks. Sabrina frees him, but it turned and gets him out of the hell door. But it turns out it's her father, Lucifer, and he says, "Daddy loves you too."
Oh,
yeah.
So classic. It was all a dream, but classic opening right here.
Talk about diving into the action. Now, what do you guys think that Nick Scratch is her true love in this part, in this quote unquote season of the show?
Are you asking whether he is?
I'm curious what you guys think of that, because I'm down for it.
Yeah. What do you think, Pete? I can't remember what you ship, whether you're a Nabrina shipper or a Hubrina shipper.
Well, I was Sabrina Harvey ride or die, but seeing Sabrina with seeing Harvey with Roz is kind of cute.
Interesting. So when you said ride or die, you chose die.
Well,
that's what that means, Pete.
No. Sometimes on a long ride, you get off, you go in the store, you look at some soda pop or something.
No, that's you're thinking of your ride or bail, and that's what you clearly are doing. Ride or die means you ride or you die.
Yeah,
and I've always been. Exactly. There's no brakes, no P brakes in the Love Highway, and I've always had that Nick Scratch fever. And despite my criticism, I'm glad you got bit.
To Justin's point, I've been married for I want to say 11 years now or so. I have not peed the entire time. No rest stops.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm just
nothing wrong with that. Also, by the way, Alex, you should nail down what that number is for when you talk to your wife and upcoming anniversaries.
Listen, man, she'll find out when she listens to this podcast. Okay, let's jump back into the action. So it was all a dream. Then we get classic breakfast in the Spellman house with a twist.
I do have one more question here. Why doesn't the devil go ahead and be a different animal besides a goat? The goat's like the worst animal. They eat garbage.
What do you mean the worst animal?
Goat. What's a worse animal? Goats eat garbage. They make weird noises. All they're known for is kicking people. And now being the devil.
Sure
why wouldn't the devil be like
animals.
a lion or
But the goat is the greatest of all time. So,
I think that's just a coincidence because of letters. That's not like everyone's like, I'm the goat.
Well, pitch us then. What's the worst animal that it should be? A trilobite, maybe? That was the first thing that came to my mind.
That's the first animal, Alex, not the worst animal.
Oh, okay. First is the worst, though. Second is the best, which is that fish that crawled out of the water on its legs.
Yeah,
That's
fish.
a
And
good
third,
animal.
which is monkeys, is the one with the hairy chest.
Yeah. I don't know what scale you're operating on. I'm just saying the devil should class up a little bit. He seems to have the power.
Hey, man, if he likes goats, he likes goats.
Well, but he doesn't like goats. If you remember from the first season, he was corrupted into that. It was sort of against his will. So he kind of just turned into a goat. So I think, if anything, that was probably a punishment from God, right? Turning him into a horrible trash eater.
Interesting. Well, I guess that proves my point that the goat is the worst animal.
I mean, I think goats are pretty cool.
I think rats are worse than goats, man.
Really? I don't know. Rats like pizza, as our friend Matt Little knows very well.
That's great. That's a great point. Also, Splinter was a rat, Pete, not a goat.
As soon as I said it, I was like, Master Splinter, damn it.
I like that you still call him Master.
Well,
How long were you studying under him, Pete?
For years, man, years.
Is Four Turtles and Pete working for Master Splinter?
That's right.
Yeah. This is why, if you ever see Pete, he's always licking a bunch of sewer grates, just in case. Just in case.
Heroes on the Half Shell and Pete.
So we get what we think is a setup for a classic Spellman breakfast right here at the beginning, but actually the entire Church of Night is there. We get a timeline on things. It turns out that it's been a month since the last episode, since the Church of Night moved into the Spellman house. So I don't know what time that puts us in. I probably should have worked that out beforehand, but I think we're
way
not.
to be.
Well, the last episode was like, I think, set around May. So we're somewhere in the middle of summer, though it's clearly fall in Greendale because it's always Halloween in Greendale. So who cares? You know?
Yeah, who cares?
Wow.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, man. Calendar's just a state of mind, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Tell that to Copernicus. Did he invent a calendar?
Sort of, I think. He was sort of like sun and moon, sky.
Right.
Stuff like that.
Cool. Just random neurons firing here this morning while we tape this. So it becomes too much. They're having a huge breakfast. Zelda and Hilda talk about it. And they're like, you know what? We got to move you guys back into the school. It's enough time. We don't have enough resources or space for everybody. There's, at this point, like 20 members of the Church of Knights, something like that.
A little small, yeah. And I will say, it's great to see these characters back dealing with just random tasks that are in front of them.
Yeah.
Wait, are you talking about the whole show? Or
yeah, I mean, I guess that's sort of all television all the time, but these characters are so likable, and they're just like, how are we going to solve this problem that we created of having these house guests? It's just very fun. I like it.
Yeah.
Their vibe is strong.
I will say, just to kind of jump ahead to a little critical thought about this episode.
Let's get through the recap before we start this shit.
What are you talking about? We're not, you can't, I understand in essence your problem with us recapping previous episodes, even though there's a utility to it, but literally our entire podcast is a recap of an episode of a show. So don't be like, we got to get fucking through this thing.
Pete, it's like if you were a dentist, you'd be like, God, when am I going to be done with all these teeth? I'm like, hey man, that's the job.
Like, what is going on? Bro. Every single time we recap something, you're like, I got to get out of here. I got to get this done as quickly as possible.
The recap's not important. What happened? You know what I mean? Where you're just, okay, this is where they are. This is what happened. Everybody knows that. They all watch the show. So, like, let's talk about our thoughts on the show.
Life's just a recap.
That's what we're doing.
Life's just a recap, and then you die, man.
Pete, that is literally what we're doing right now on every single podcast we do, is we recap, and then you can jump in with your thoughts and talk about things. What are you talking about?
All right, man, let's get through this.
You are clearly just doing this to wind me up.
Yep.
2020, the year we get it right. The year we get this podcast right.
Oh, my God. Pete, killing me. What were we even talking about? So they're going to move them back into the Church of Night. It's been about a month. They're moving back to the school. And then they have, to your point, Justin, a couple of other logistics to figure out. Is Zelda going to be High Priestess? Of course she's going to be his High Priestess.
Yeah.
But even bigger, and this is such like a seemingly low stakes, high stakes thing that's going on with their plot line throughout the episode is who are they going to say Black Mass to? So as everybody goes to sleep, are they going to pray to the Dark Lord Satan, who they got rid of, who they haven't told anybody about, or are they going to do something else? And it's such a weird, funny plot line for them, I think.
It's great. It's like, I've never seen something where like the followers of a religion are like, fuck, who do we worship now? I'm trying to change gears here. It's really fun. Why don't we just recap that whole thing? It sort of stands alone.
Sure.
Because to get through that, to figure it out, they have to hide the fact that they are breaking the church off by having Hilda become Blackwood for all these meetings, which is just fun. It's just fun.
It's delightful. I'm blanking on the actor's name who plays Father Blackwood, but there's a glamour at one point that Hilda puts on to look like Father Blackwood. And he's just having a delightful time pretending to be Lucy Davis. And seeing him say, I baked them a yummy honey cake is delightful. Just absolutely delightful. He masquerades as her. They welcome the council of elders who are checking up on the school. And there's two fun and interesting things that happen during that conversation beyond Father Blackwood, actor playing Father Blackwood, pretending to be Aunt Hilda, or other way around, is one, they kind of drop the information that they're losing a little bit of potency in terms of their magic. They're wondering if Father Blackwood has experienced the same. And he says, well, why don't you just pray to the Dark Lord? You've been talking to the Dark Lord, of course. And they say, oh, yes, of course. Yes, we just talked earlier today. I prayed to him. And this is something we talked about a lot on the podcast, is they've been bullshitting, I think, the entire time.
Yeah, I don't think they love that Dark Lord. And honestly, they feel sort of agnostic at best, I think, throughout the whole series, and especially here, where they are actively changing up what god they're going to worship. And then this is the first time we really see them earnestly praying, I think, is when they choose to pray to Lilith or Madam Satan, who is currently ruling in hell, at least at the beginning of this episode.
And that's there was a touching moment when she hears them.
Yeah.
Yes, there is. I mean, if there's been one strong theme throughout this entire series, it's been how the masculine pushes down the feminine and the female characters pushing to rise up against that. So it's pretty clear to have three old white men character come in, blatantly lie about their faith as a way of propping themselves up. That's exactly what Father Blackwood did last season. And it's nice because almost more than anything else, though there are other touches of it in the episode, this really continues to underline the themes of the series.
Agreed. And one other thing that I can't believe we haven't talked about yet is we get a huge presence of Dorcas in this episode, Alex.
I was getting there.
I'm so sorry. Please build up to it.
No, it's fine. Dorcas Hive has been dormant for a very long time, but finally we're rising up. Dorcas makes some huge moves in this episode that I was very excited to see, and her power is just growing. It's just growing. Pete, do you feel the same way?
Oh, yeah. It's great to see Dorcas back in action, really taking control.
And to be clear, what we mean here is the camera briefly lingers across her face as it's going to look at someone else.
She has a couple of lines, Justin. She has a couple of lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right? Sure. Why don't you just say them back? They were so pivotal to the episode.
Hello, I'm Dorcas. Nice to meet you.
I don't think that's
my
accurate.
name is Dorcas.
Doesn't make sense. She introduces herself multiple times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
She keeps walking and they're like, who are you again? And she's like, I'm Dorcas.
I mean, that checks out to me because people keep forgetting that she's there. So she would have to
there's a
introduce.
couple times if you look in the background, she's just mouthing the words "I'm Dorcas." She's in the background.
There you go.
Well, that's acting. I mean, you have to remind yourself of your character at every moment. That's why I haven't been in a lot of films. I guess they said it was distracting.
Every actor has a secret, and sometimes your secret is saying your name over and over again on camera.
Yeah. Well, that's how Robert Downey Jr. nailed it in the Avengers movies. He kept saying, I am Iron Man over and over.
Yeah.
It worked for him.
And he's a legend.
He is a living legend. Looking forward to Doolittle, which by the time this post is already out. All right. So then they give a little note at the end of this breakfast scene where they're like, Aunt Hilda says, oh, poor Sabrina. She's going to school. She's mourning over Nick Scratch, but she's not actually mourning over Nick Scratch. She's already actively tried to get him out of hell. She's in the caves under Greendale. Tried to unlock the door, tried different combinations. Harvey is there being very supportive of her. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? I felt like in these scenes, even though they're being very friendly, very supportive of each other, felt like little touches of Sabrina again to me.
Oh, I disagree. I feel like the X vibe is strong here. I feel like Sabrina's annoyed by Harvey. And across the episode, they feel like totally not connected at all.
No
in
way,
any
I
sort
disagree,
of
man. Like, he looks at her and is just impressed by her and is just like, you are amazing. And
well, she's doing magic. She's doing magic. Well, but that's not. I don't
hard
think.
Eyes.
I don't know, man. I did not. I was surprised how little hard eyes I saw in this episode.
This was the only scene to me. This was the only scene where I got those hard eyes. The rest of it, to your point, I think. Haas? I don't know. What are we calling them? Rarvi?
Yeah.
Very strong. But I'm telling you, you can't spell Sabrina without haba, 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 you know?
Oh, my God.
Man. Put that on a headband and wear it around for everything you do in your life.
Now, as they're walking out of the woods, they see a creepy Jolly Frost ice cream truck pop by, and they're like, oh, that's weird.
Now here's the real thing that we need to talk about, guys.
Oh, okay. This is the crux of the episode?
Yeah.
Pete, we're in the middle of the recap. You have to save all of your thoughts for the end.
No, there's no way to make it through this fucking recap. All right, so the ice cream truck...
That's the entire podcast. Go ahead.
...is the whole episode, guys. This here was the foreshadowing upon foreshadowing. This is going to be how the season moves forward.
Because you like ice cream and you got hungry for ice cream?
No, because there's a creepy ice cream truck, and everybody knows you can't just have a shot of a creepy ice cream truck without it being a huge thing that's going to be happening.
Yes, Anton Chekhov wrote, if a ice cream truck shows up in episode 1, there will be ice cream in episode 6.
Yep.
All right, well, we'll see what happens. Did you just check your watch, Pete, to see if it was time for episode 6 yet?
Yeah, exactly.
Doing some quick math. I did. I mean, this was a weird point of tension, and someone's definitely going to be doing something bad in and around that truck.
Oh, man.
What do we think of Harvey's longer hair? The real indicator of trouble afoot here.
Well, that's how you know time passed.
Great point. They don't have watches in Sabrina.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, it's shaggy o'clock. Time to go back to school.
I will say, on the hair front and on the Harvey front, he does seem a little bit looser now and more relaxed. Like, clearly he was pretty hepped up in the part 1 and part 2 because of everything that was going on with Sabrina, finding out witches are real, watching his brother die, etc., etc. But now he seems pretty relaxed, chill, as we'll get to in a moment. They have a whole band thing going on. So, yeah, he's a chill dude at this point.
Yeah, it's nice for him to have creative outlets for his rage, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we, after the creepy ice cream truck, Hilda gets a quick phone call. We come back to that later. Oh, we already covered that. Sorry. Just looking over my notes here. And then we cut over to the school where Theo, Roz, and Harvey are hanging with Sabrina and tell her, hey, you know what you should do? You should join our band or become a cheerleader. Either way.
Yeah, either one.
Either
Sounds
one. Fun
great to me.
activities.
Yes. It's a little crazy to me that I think they released a promo music video for the season, which I thought was delightful. But I went on YouTube, and to never read the comments, but every single comment that I saw, or at least the first bunch on YouTube on the music video was like, oh shit, are they turning this into Riverdale? They better not be fucking turning this into a musical like Riverdale. I swear to God, don't turn this into Riverdale. And you get like hints of it right here in the first episode where they're like, we're going to do cheerleading. We're going to do music. We're going to have fun at school.
All things are slowly becoming Riverdale.
Absolutely. The world's becoming Riverdale.
The politics, everything we're all becoming Riverdale. Worship at the altar of Riverdale.
They're putting Jingle Jangle in the water, man. That's what it says on my blog and on my my vlog as well, and all of my TikToks.
Wow, so cool. You're so busy making content.
Yeah, gotta put yourself out there. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck in the recap portion of your life forever.
We also get a little Penelope Blossom in this episode that makes you think it's turning into
well, why don't we can jump ahead. We can talk about Prudence and Ambrose's storyline because that's pretty brief. They go down to New Orleans, and we pick up with them with, as you mentioned, Natalie Bolt, who plays... I don't know why I said her name like that. Natalie Bolt, who plays Penelope Blossom, shows up as Miss Dubois, which is classic, ridiculous character name from this show, from Riverdale, whatever else. And Father Blackwood is with her. Turns out it's not Miss Dubois and it's not Father Blackwood. It's actually Prudence and Ambrose who are laying a trap. They end up killing Father Blackwood, but it's not Father Blackwood at all. It's one of his followers from the Order of Judas who they end up killing, and they're like, we just keep going back and forth. The problem is we were trained by him, so we know the same tricks he does and vice versa. So what we need to do is we need to try some new tricks. So they head down to, oh gosh, I wrote down her name somewhere here. Michelle Marie de Fleur, I think. Who is a Haitian priestess. She has a front shop that is a classic like hoodoo shop, but they're like, no, we're looking for the real shit.
We want the real shit.
We want the real shit. And she's like, yep, I'm a high priestess of this type of witchcraft down here, and I am going to teach you how to make a world map with some blood magic in order to find him. Ambrose wants a little bit of the sex magic, not the blood magic.
Blood sex magic, which is very close to a Red Hot Chili Peppers album.
Yes, and I think they're going to show up later on this season. I don't want to guarantee it, but if you take the first letter of every episode of this part, it spells out Ketis.
Yeah, wow. And fleas around.
Yeah,
people
fleas
say
around
like,
something.
I've got fleas. They don't mean the bugs. They mean flea is showing up at their house.
There is a circus that shows up at the end of the episode, and it might be a flea circus. I don't know.
100%. Yeah. I did love this blood map that they made. Mm-hmm.
This is very cool. What did you like about it?
Just it was well done, like the way the blood like started running all over the place. Very cool. This whole sequence in general, I was like, oh, they're really embracing the like streaming service nature of this show where they can like get away with more. There's like much more murder. There's more sex. Everyone's having sex. The amount of the way they made everyone so sweaty throughout this sequence really put all the budget on.
I mean, that's the sort of thing. As we know, broadcast has certain standards in the amount of sweat that you can have on a person.
Yeah.
Like at a certain point, they just cut you off. They're like, that is too sweaty. And cable pushed it a little bit. They used to have, it's not TV, it's sweaty HBO. But even that wasn't as sweaty as streaming could get. And of course, there's the tagline, Netflix, yes, sweaty.
Yeah, that's true. Very under. You don't hear people talk about that very much. But I love they know how to, Ambrose and Prudence know to take a good cocktail break in the middle of their hunt, their desperate hunt for Blackwood. They just throw on some period costumes and take a cocktail break. I love this whole plot line.
Yeah, it's great. And I love seeing them together. I think they are great together. The two great actors. It's fun to see them. Excited to see where it goes. And they do discover that he is in Loch Ness in Scotland, home of the famous monster. So we'll see what happens with that when we get to the next episode. Let's jump back to the main crux of the storyline. This is the main bulk of what's going on with Sabrina and her friends.
The creepy ice cream truck.
Yes, the creepy ice cream truck, which we covered and we'll keep coming back to.
Yeah, super important.
It is.
What flavors? Every one of those flavors has to mean something.
Yes. Yeah. We'll analyze that when we get to it, I'm sure. So we go back to school. Miss Wardwell is there, except not quite the same. She is back and she's teaching Dante's Inferno, which everybody immediately is like, "What?" in the classroom. Yeah. Looking around, and Sabrina goes and talks to her, makes sure she's okay. And Miss Wardwell makes a suggestion. I love that even though this is Miss Wardwell, not Madam Satan, she's still walking in, and Miss Wardwell is like, here's a very specific suggestion I can make for how you can solve this problem you're having, which I thought was delightful. So she suggests that some paintings of hell are considered windows to hell, and Sabrina's like, thanks for that, gonna head off. She also has a fun moment where she says, it is you, right? Which classic Sabrina move of like no guile whatsoever.
Yeah, right on the nose.
Yes, and she says, who else would I be? Then she goes over to Dorian's. Now, this is the real Dorian Gray from the Portrait of Dorian Gray. He runs a club in town, in case you've forgotten, and he is getting a pimple, which doesn't say a lot about what's going on in his painting. Any theories about what's going on with Dorian here?
I think this may play into the weird power differences that are happening across the episode.
Yeah, people losing their powers.
Hell is getting a little weaker because there's no one in charge, really. We'll get to that a little bit later, but I thought this was funny, and he's like, the only way to fix this pimple is not Clearasil. It's a one-off flower that grows only in a specific part of hell.
Yes, and as we'll find out soon, it's a singing flower just like the singing bush from Three Amigos, right,
Hell
Pete?
yeah.
Yeah, I thought of you when I thought of that. So she figures out that Dorian does, in fact, of course, have a portal to hell in a painting in his back room. She goes in and finds the band, which is called Fright Club, is playing My Sharona. Very fun.
Great.
I'll tell you what, they sounded pretty good.
Yeah.
They did, right?
Yeah.
I know Ross Lynch, he has a band. He's a singer. I don't know about the rest of them, so I don't know if they were playing their stuff, but that was super fun. I like that a lot.
Were you guys in bands, hastily thrown together bands when you were in high school?
I was in jazz band. I played piano.
You know that's not what I meant. You must know that that's not what I meant. When people ask you, were you in a band, that is the incorrect answer, Alex, just for future reference.
I was second piano.
No, that's not. You were second piano?
I was second piano. Well, I consider myself second piano because, frankly, the other guy, Jason Hare, much better. Like, he could riff on the jazz stuff while I was much more technical and followed the notes. I had a hard time improvising.
Oh, my God.
How ironic.
Oh, my God.
I know, right?
Ironic. Wow, second piano in the high school jazz band. I believe the Beatles were a high school jazz band for a while.
Yes, they were.
Pete, what about you? In a band?
No.
Were your friends in a band?
I tried to play the guitar for a little while, but it just made me angry.
Smashed it.
Yeah.
Justin, what about you? Were you in a band? Is this what we're leading up to?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I was just genuinely curious because I'm bad at all music. And then one summer, I had a friend group of like 5 or 6 of us, and they all formed a band, and I was the only one that didn't play an instrument.
Oh no!
So but they all liked me to play music.
Did you dance off to the side?
I played the tambourine a couple times.
Oh, nice.
It was sort of, I just was like, just not do this. I can make some new friends.
So, back to the show. Sabrina calls Operation Handbasket, very delightfully named. And in order to go to hell, they have 2 steps they need to do. First, they rub themselves down with Ghastly Water, which is a mix of, I guess, formaldehyde and wash off from corpses and water. Opposite of holy water, and they also need to put on dead man's shoes in order to walk the paths of hell. They head through the painting to hell, and they're heading towards...
I find it odd how everyone was so on board with this. Like, the embracing of the witch culture from the humans and, like, having a quick bath with dead people juice was pretty crazy to me. It's a big change from the last 2 parts of the show were about like going after Sabrina for being a witch and how she like shouldn't be doing this stuff, and now everyone's whole hog on board.
But I think go ahead.
I'm sorry, Justin. What do you shower with in the morning?
I use just like runoff from living people. Like I use living water.
Okay,
it's been on other people's bodies, of course.
Sure.
Pete showers every morning with Ghastly Water, but that's only because he's too scared to talk to his superintendent.
Yeah. Hey, man, I'm getting a lot of ghastly water out of my faucets.
My super is Satan, so yeah, you'd be scared too.
Hey, just run that stuff through a Brita, Pete. It's fine to drink.
Yep. Oh, I do.
Too few people shower with a Brita. You really got to try it. It's great.
Purified. Ice cold purified water.
To the point you were making, though, I think that's okay because that is what the first two parts were about, is them having this friction with Sabrina, going against it. But by the end of part two, they had gone through it. They all kind of had their own separate powers and things that they were running anyway, and they were all a team. So it is bonkers that they're all on board with this frankly stupid plan to go to hell and get Nick back that seems very half-baked. But
they one of them brought a baseball bat.
Oh, okay, yeah. So they should be fine.
Harvey was like, I'm bringing a bat.
Yeah, well, Harvey also said, should humans go to hell? And everybody's like, yeah, it's fine. So they just kind of go on from there. So it's definitely a half-baked plan, but I prefer to them be like the Scooby Squad of this show. I'm good with that. Like, that feels like forward momentum to me.
I agree. It's definitely more fun. It's just such a quick change for everybody. It was almost funny where they were like, rub down with this gross water? Okay, here we go, off to hell.
Yeah. Figured you'd have a little more trepidation or ask some questions, but I guess not, because they find themselves on the beach on the shores of sorrow, and there's
hilarious. I was like, there's a beach in hell?
Yeah.
That was my first thought, too.
He's thinking about surfing those waves. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, dude, he wants to hang 10. Of course there's a beach in hell. Sand, when you can't get sand off your body, that's a great torture.
The worst. But there is one dude who can get sand off his body. The sexy dude on the beach. He's building a sandcastle. Turns out later he is Caliban, a prince of hell. That's a big surprise reveal at the end. But he gives them a little bit of direction there and says, follow the blood red road. And the whole thing, it turns out, is a riff on the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Which is another crazy thing that I was iffy about when it became clear that's what they were doing. And then as the episode went on, I enjoyed it more. How did you feel about it?
I was on board from the get-go here. I loved it.
From the get-go? The Geico get-go?
Yeah, from the get-go.
Yeah, I thought... I was like, all right. I mean, so much stuff happened in this episode. They kind of just crammed it all in, and we're like, no questions. We're just going to have a fun ride. Crazy episode. For the first one of the season, I was really impressed with all the things that happened. You know?
Well, that's something that I think we talked about with the first two parts as well, where it's not this show is almost structured not like a Netflix show. Like, it's the length of a Netflix show where it's an hour long, and usually you have a Netflix show where it's like there's at least 10 to 15 minutes that are padded out, that are a little too slow, that they could cut, that are meandering plot lines. Sabrina, it's like there's a 45-minute show and then a bonus 15-minute show put throughout the middle of every single episode, where there's never any downtime, there's never any wasted time, but it's so much at the same time.
Yeah, is there another show that we've talked about that is like that at all? I'm trying to think. What's a breakneck-paced show that also shares qualities with this show?
Watchmen.
Watchmen, that's it.
Yes. Well, it is. It's like a Riverdale episode, and then if there was another 15-minute Riverdale episode stuffed in the middle, right? Like, so it's even more than that at certain points, I think.
Yeah, no, and I think they land that. They nail it.
Yeah. If I showed up at hell and then some guy was like, go this way, I think I might go the opposite way.
But he's really hot, dude.
He is.
Yeah,
his shirt's all unbuttoned and stuff.
I don't know why they merely like, okay, casual hot guy in hell, we'll go where you say.
To be fair, he doesn't reveal who he is, which makes him very trustworthy.
To be fair.
Yes. So next up, they find themselves in the field of witness in hell, and there they find one of the first characters that we talked about at the beginning, or teased at the beginning, Uncle Jesse
from Full House.
Full House. He cannot cut it
Jesse
out.
Jesse Kansopoulos.
Yeah. The thing that's actually being cut out is his eyes as they're being pecked by birds, and it turns out Lilith sent him down there Theo is very upset. Sabrina protects Uncle Jesse, says as long as we're in hell, he's going to be protected. We'll grab him on the way back. And they head down further into hell, at which point Lilith, in classic Wicked Witch of the West style, finds out about Sabrina from one of the retainers of the hell, who is dressed like one of the flying monkeys, except without the wings.
Yeah. And it looks like he's a weird bellhop. Yeah, but it also is weird that the monkeys in Wizard of Oz were dressed like bellhops.
Yes, all of that.
A lot of weird ideas here. Yeah.
Yeah, so Uncle Jesse was the Scarecrow. Then we get the Wicked Witch of the West. Nick, we also find out, is now also shirtless, lying next to Lilith. He's chained up. His tongue has been cut out, which is pretty horrifying for Nick. How is he going to be a bad boy with no tongue is what I want to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could. That's an even badder boy. If you don't even talk. You're so aloof. You don't even speak because you're tongueless.
Yeah, the baddest move in the world is cutting out your own tongue. Please don't do that, anybody listening at home. So next up, they enter the Forest of Torment, where they know the flower is going to be. So Sabrina and Roz head off to find the singing flower, while Theo and Harvey wander off in the other direction, which seems bonkers to me. That
Horrible idea. People, not good.
The two people with magical powers are like, great, we'll go off together. You two humans with no powers and maybe one gun between you. You head off in the other direction.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. I will say one thing. The signage in hell is very helpful. I would think it would be more inconvenient signage.
Or also incorrect signage.
That's what I'm saying.
Just to torture you more. By the way, when we get down to hell, there's no splitting up, guys. All right.
You mean when we're all dead?
What happens.
When we're all dead, or when we go out or we inevitably go to rescue you, Pete, after you make a weird deal with the devil? We have to drag you out of hell.
No, I think what Pete was saying is the ultimate torture is the three of us being forced to do podcasts for all eternity. Right, Pete?
Oh, wow.
I think you mean heaven.
Hey, Pete, welcome to Your Life, the podcast. Quick recap on where we've been so far.
Oh, man. I'd love to do a recap podcast of Pete's life. Just go minute by minute.
So awful.
Very angry. The Pete Minute. Just recap. Yeah. I'd love to do it. That would be great. So Theo and Harvey find a Tin Man, a la, again, Wizard of Oz, but it turns out to be Harvey's brother Tommy, who was killed last season, brought back to life, and then killed again. Harvey had to shoot him with a shotgun to send his dead body back to the grave. It's not Tommy. It's just a denizen of hell pretending to be Tommy. But while Sabrina and Faraz very carefully clip the singing flower, Sabrina shoots Tommy in the back and is like, it's not him. Don't worry about it. Very traumatizing for all the human characters in here.
Yeah, and also just left like, don't worry, man, it's not your brother. And then he still has his brother's face and he's all rusted up. Like, it was...
Yeah, that was a lot, man. That was very...
Yeah. I also feel like maybe it is his brother, possibly.
Yeah. It was definitely left open-ended.
Sabrina seemed a little trigger-happy.
Yeah, so Lilith does find out about that. She's like, we really got to stop them. I'll send two old friends to greet them. At which point, the Fright Club finds a spooky door to Baxter High. And inside, students are chopping off their parts. They're writing in blood on the blackboard. And guess what? Cousin Balky himself, Balky Bartakamoose, is back. Yeah. And he was exploded by Lilith last season. He's there. They get trapped at their desks. There's no spellcasting to get out of it. And Roz's grandma is also there to help out. And they're going to dissect Roz right on the table. At which point, what's the opposite of a Deus Ex Machina? A Satanist Ex Machina or something like that?
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. So the three kings of hell show up. The hordes of hell, they confront Lilith and say, hey, this is basically it's a coup. And Lilith comes up with a plan. She frees Sabrina.
Right in the nick of time.
Right in the nick scratch of time.
Yes. Also, a great line here. Roz is about to be tortured. She says, somebody says something about God help me. And Balky says, you're in high school in hell. There is no God here, which I thought very fun.
Very fun.
Belky, I mean, you're getting a quality actor when you sign Belky up.
Pete, I thought you'd be more excited for the return of Belky.
Belky, this was great. It took me a while to figure out it was Belky. I mean, there was a lot of makeup.
Wow.
They did a great job.
That is exactly what he looked like back on Perfect Strangers, so I do not know what you're talking about.
How dare you, Zalvin?
By the end of that series, he was a rotting corpse of a Mypos, a resident of Mypos.
How dare you?
Yes.
And did you watch to the end of the series, Pete? Because when it was revealed that he was like just an imaginary sort of Tyler Durden-esque character, what an end to that sitcom.
Again, how dare you, sir? Don't sully such an amazing sitcom.
Well, that's why it was called Perfect Strangers, is because they were the same person, and the perfect stranger was Cousin Larry himself.
Right, Pete, I think you need to rewatch that show because I know this is a lot of revelations for you, but you should get back into it. It's not just a goofy show that sort of didn't make sense and is lightly offensive to foreign people. No, it's a huge metaphor for the psychotic break of living through the modern world.
I would say it's about how love can conquer all, you piece of shit.
Love between two cousins?
Yep.
That's illegal in most states, Pete. So,
not saying that kind of love, you fucking assholes.
I mean, you said what you said, and we'll recap that on your podcast later. Sabrina and company come to Lilith, and we very briefly get to see what's going on inside the Flesh Acheron, which is Nick and Satan having a very sweaty wrestling match going on.
Very sexual.
That was hilarious that it cut to them actually wrestling.
Yes,
just nonstop body skin contact, hot.
Mm-hmm. So.
There's a lot of wrestling in both Riverdale and the show in a weird way.
Well, that's what I was going to get to is Nick Scratch the Archie of this show, and is Satan the Hiram Lodge of this show?
Yes.
That's an interesting... I do think Nick is becoming the Archie of this show.
Yeah, because he's so just puppy dog in love with Sabrina?
Yeah, and that's his... sort of, he has that unthinking role of just like, I love you, Harvey. I'll do anything for you.
I think you said this last season, Justin, which I was definitely thinking about watching this episode, which is that Sabrina is the Archie of this show, which I think is kind of true because...
It is true. That's true.
Yeah, she has plans, but most of her plans are like, no, I'll get to that later. I'll figure out that problem when I get to it.
And just the reckless earnestness with which she confronts every task is the most Archie thing you could do.
Right. Like going down to hell to rescue her boyfriend after the only thing that was saving the world was her boyfriend being in hell.
Yep.
Very Archie-like. And then the plan that she ultimately comes up with, they go, I should mention, they sit down, they have a rotting dinner, which Roz notices using her cunning and stops them from eating.
What a great power that would be to have just at a restaurant for any of us.
Yeah, or like you go to Walgreens and you can check out the sushi that way and be like, oop, not that one.
Pete or Alex, I'll tell you what, you have that power now, and that is to not eat the Walgreens sushi. You could just walk in there and be like, nope, this is a bad idea for everyone.
Stronger men than I have tried and failed. Also, there's a great line in here that explains why Lilith, Madam Satan, still looks like Miss Wardwell, where she says, a face like this, it's hard to beat. Yeah. And I love that very silly but very on-point excuse where it's clearly just like, yeah, Michelle Gomez is great. We're not going to get another actress to play Lilith or anything like that. We had talked about this towards the end of the season, and to me, that's the absolute best decision they could have come to.
Yeah, exactly. She's great. I love that now she's doing double duty.
Yeah. So Sabrina wants to take Nick back. Lilith will give him to Sabrina if Sabrina crowns her queen of hell. But we get a little bit of a twist there. As Sabrina says this, the lords of hell reveal Caliban is there. He wants to take over the earth. That's his whole plan. He challenges Sabrina Morningstar's right to the throne, says that she's half mortal. She shouldn't sit on there. At which point, Lucifer zaps her inside of Nick and tells her several pieces of information. First of all, that everything has been thrown out of whack, that if hell isn't working, heaven isn't working, and earth isn't working, right. The old ones are coming back, and Nick kisses Sabrina inside of his own head, Very weird. And she saps back out, and Sabrina, classic, exactly what we were just talking about. It's like, no, you know what? After everything I went through the last season where I rejected the throne of hell, I'm going to go ahead and sit on the throne of hell, and appoints Lilith as her regent. Caliban leaves after he finds out he needs to get enough signatures to challenge her in hell.
Great hell bureaucracy here. Love this. My favorite part of this whole sequence, though, was Harvey's line that was basically, here we go again. Sums up everything that we're all feeling.
Yes. So Caliban leaves to go get his signatures. Jesse Putnam gets sent to heaven very quickly by Lilith. Sabrina takes Nick home. Dorian's flower gets crumpled. Lots of stuff happens in quick succession. Dorian's flower gets crumpled. He gets a little upset about that. And they leave Nick in the bottom of the school in a salt circle tied together with some Damascus steel. They're like, nobody will find him, and it will be absolutely fine. Yeah.
Insane.
And then Sabrina's like, you know what? On top of everything else, I'm going to become a cheerleader. That sounds like a lot of fun.
So she has a pretty shocking attitude about this. She has no problem. She's going to be going to 2 schools, running hell, joining a cheerleader squad, and also solving Nick Scratch's possession problem.
Yeah, I got to tell you what. She is the Balky Bartokomous of this show.
Oh, boy.
100%.
And then
so many jobs.
They sit there and casually have milkshakes as the creepy wind rolls into town, and we get the shot of the old ones.
The old ones.
Yes. So this is a carnival rolling into town. This is...
But we already saw it because the creepy ice cream man was there first.
So this whole season is building up to ice cream versus carnivals, which is Pete's ideal scenario.
Oh, yeah. Come on.
Yes.
Yeah, cotton candy versus ice cream.
So there we go. That's the end of the first episode, The Hellbound Heart. Before we wrap up here, though, just overall impressions of the season opener. What are you thinking now? Pete, this is the part you've been waiting for the entire episode where you could finally offer up your thoughts.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, we have to just sit through an hour of you blabbing at us, and then we can finally talk about our thoughts.
Pete, that was fun. That's fun. That's what fun is.
So this was... I mean, they did an unbelievable job of cramming a ton of stuff into 1 hour of television. You know, they talked about, well, should we go back to hell? Immediately go back to hell. Try to get Nick. Like, I think the show does a great job of being like, this is creative. We're going to have fun. You got to just kind of move things aside and enjoy this journey. I think it's going best when it's kind of crazy and over the top, and it's great. I mean, we didn't get a lot of Hilda, but what we did get was magical, and I think they did a great job of being like, here we go, this season's going to be great. Enjoy.
Justin, overall thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I agree with Pete. They put so much on the table, and I think they really are ratcheting up the amount of things that are going on in this episode for sure. And I feel like in the season, much like Riverdale, where I feel like in the past 2 parts, it was a little more like, let's linger in these scenes, let's lay on the characters a little bit more, and now it's just like, gotta go. It felt like obviously you had the Wizard of Oz stuff over top, but it felt like much more adventure, like never-ending story-esque quest, more quests like that, a lot of like wild imagery with the carnival and all that stuff. So I'm really psyched for the season. I think it's starting off on a much more, much different position and a much more like forward momentum position.
I agree. I really like this opener quite a bit. And the first 2 parts, it was certainly fleshed out. There was a lot more room to breathe, but that was based on Roberto Aguirre Sacas's original story that he still hasn't finished in the comics, though we got, I want to say 8 issues of it were published by Archie. Obviously, they tweaked it for TV. They changed it for TV. But I do think that overall conflict that we had in the first 2 parts of Sabrina versus Lucifer, is she going to sign the Dark Book? What will happen afterwards? That was a very clear plot. And now it's I was a little nervous about getting into this because they don't have that same sort of roadmap that he had set out for years, but there's clearly a forward momentum here. And to your point, so many things going on. And it's just, it's fun to see these characters together again because the cast is so much fun. Kiernan Shipka has really very quickly grown into the role, and I think she's so much fun as Sabrina Spellman. And it's great seeing everybody again. So excited to chat with you fellas about this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think putting this so close to it all flying off the rails, I think is such a fun way for us to go through the season, where it's like Sabrina feels like she cannot despite her confidence, she cannot handle all the stuff she has to deal with, and that's the way we know every episode is going to be jam-packed with insanity.
Before we wrap up here, I got to be honest, I don't remember exactly. Oh, yeah, Justin.
I have one other thing to talk about. Like, we watch Riverdale and talk about Riverdale a lot, and we've talked over there a lot about how they broke this sort of standard relationship triangle of will Archie choose between Betty or Veronica because of the way the show has just unfolded. Now, this show ostensibly is all about Sabrina and Harvey being together. That's what the comic was about. That's what the original comic book series was always about. And this show, this season especially, has set up that she's with Nick. Do we think that Harvey is going to come in to this? Or is this show now, this season especially, about the Sabrina and Nick Scratch romance?
I mean, Justin, how much time do you need to dedicate to us talking about Nick fucking Scratch and Sabrina, all right?
Did you just say we need a spin-off podcast?
Scratch Track?
Yes, Scratch Track. Great.
Yeah. Okay, we'll launch it right after we post this one. Let's wrap up this episode, though. Which?
Answer my question.
Answer your question? What was your question? Is this going to be more about Nick or Harvey?
I'm saying, have they broken the love triangle and it's all about Sabrina and Nick?
Nah, I don't think so. No. I mean, there is that heart eyes moment with Harvey and Sabrina right towards the beginning. And I mean, I think ultimately, like, I don't know. I think plans change, right? And certainly real world things potentially change that. You know, we don't talk about this too much on the Riverdale podcast, but I do think Lily Reinhart and Cole Sprouse having such strong chemistry, not just on the show, but in real life, definitely changed the way the Betty and Jughead relationship went and probably made that go for a lot longer than they expected. And I think it's the same thing here with Ross Lynch and Jazz, who I'm going to look up what her actual name is.
Jazz Sinclair.
Jazz Sinclair, that's right. Because I believe they're dating in real life as well. And so that might be something where they just found, these two actors have a ridiculous amount of chemistry, not just on screen, but in real life. Let's play around with it, and let's not have people jump back and forth, you know? So
do you think that these shows that Roberto Aguirre-Sacasa is running are just like dating services for young actors?
Mm-hmm. It's his production company is called Hinge.
Yeah, wow. Getting it done.
Okay, for real, though, let's wrap this up with which witch reigns supreme in this episode. Pete, take it away. Which witch reigns supreme?
Ice cream truck.
Jesus.
What does that even mean?
We don't even know if that's a witch in ice cream truck form necessarily at this point. But that's your
Pete,
answer?
We will have a follow-up with which car reigns supreme in a minute.
We
do that every episode where we pick a car that we think really had a great episode. Was full of fun gas.
And just quick question, are you answering my question or are you just having a mild stroke and saying ice cream truck over and over?
Ice cream truck.
Oh, no. Somebody help Pete. Help Pete.
Justin, what about you? Which witch reigns supreme?
I'm going to say the Ambrose Prudence combination. I love this as an ongoing plot this season. They're a great combination, like we talked about, and them just being like these witches on a bounty hunt are great. I can't wait to see that unfold.
I was going to say Dorcas for my choice, but then Pete came out with his insane answer. So instead, I'll actually say Sabrina. She's having so much fun now on this show, and even if she is making ludicrous decisions, it's so enjoyable to see her watch her doing them. It's great, and that's what you should have. You should have somebody central in the show like that is fun to watch. Pete, what are you going to say?
How dare you drop Dorcas? How dare you?
Wow.
If you dropped Dorcas for an ice cream truck, Pete. Anything you want to say in return? Or
Alex,
just
the ice cream truck. The ice cream truck did have more to do in the episode than Dorcas, so I feel like Pete has a point.
All right, couple of things before we go. If you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/Comic Book Club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. at the People's Improv Theater Loft in New York. Come on by and we'll spook you with some spooky theories about Chilling Podcast of Sabrina. Socially, we don't have dedicated channels for this, but you can check out all of our Riverdale channels at Riverdale Dark on Twitter, at Riverdale After on Instagram, at Riverdale After Dark on Facebook, iTunes, Android, Spotify, Stitcher, or the app of your choice. If you want to listen and subscribe to this show, please do comment on Chilling Podcasts with Sabrina, in particular on iTunes. That really does help us a lot. ComicBookClubLive.com for this podcast and many more. And we'll see you at the witching hour.
I curse you with the strongest torture in all of hell to be second jazz piano in a high school jazz band.
No!